Hi everyone, this is Kabir with Team Lumiere, and today we will be showcasing mergers and acquisitions for our project on data visualization. Number one, we start with the motivation as to why we did this project. Secondly, we go on to the execution plan, followed by data pre-processing, visuals, and then finally the results and the conclusions that we draw from this project. So, the motivation as to why we decided to go with this project. In today's world, you cannot live without Google search. You can't live without your iPhone, and we often have a hard time surviving without our cup of Starbucks coffee. Now, as you can see, big tech and big companies shape the way we live our lives. With mergers and acquisitions, these companies are just getting bigger and powerful each and every day. The combined market capitalization of the top five tech companies is $4.5 trillion. You know, this market capitalization is bigger than the GDP of a lot of countries in the world. Therefore, it's extremely crucial for us to understand why these companies are getting so big today and what kind of businesses these companies are engaged in. Therefore, by providing visuals, we will be able to see what businesses these companies are engaged in, the kind of acquisitions that they are involved in, and the kind of industries that they are targeting. So at the end of the day, we can get a better insight as to what these companies actually have. Okay, as you can see from this chart, America's economy is heavily shifting towards technology in the last 100 years. Companies like Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon, and Facebook have a combined market cap of $4.5 trillion. And next, it's the conglomerates like Berkshire Hathaway that are also extremely powerful. A conglomerate is like Berkshire Hathaway is basically a holding company that makes money off its subsidiaries. So as we can see, a lot of the changes that are happening in the S&P 500 and in the company space is that it's all these big tech companies or it's all the big conglomerates that are making up the majority of the market capitalization of the stock market today. As an example, take Apple. With one trillion dollars of market cap, it acquired Next in 1996, as you can see from the visual, Anobit in 2011, Beats in 2014, Shazam in 2017, and Dialog Semiconductors in 2018. And these are just a few of the acquisitions that Apple has made. And with these acquisitions, we can actually get a better insight as to the kind of businesses that Apple is engaged in. Apple has moved from just being a tech company to also being in the consumer space, being in the music space, being in the hardware arena. So Apple is present in a lot of different industries. And with our visuals, we will be providing a great way for average users to see how these big companies are engaged in so many different businesses. So for the execution plan, in September, we focus on deciding on what kind of problem that our team will target. In October, we found relevant data sets for the mergers and acquisitions. Then we worked on the pre-processing and visuals, most of the visuals in November that included time series, flow data, overviews. And in December, then we finally finished off with the report presentation and then the conclusion of our project. As an overview, if number one is data collection, then it's followed by pre-processing, then finally the visuals, and then the results that we get. For data insights, so number one, with the data set that we have, we can see the biggest acquisitions by big tech companies. Secondly, using time series analysis, we can see how these companies have grown over time and how many acquisitions that these companies have been engaged in over time. Thirdly, we're able to unravel the different industries that these companies have a foothold in. And finally, just to give you a bit of an overview of the data sets, the data set variables have variables like market cap, name of the business segments that these companies are engaged in, the industry segments, the dates of acquisitions that are particularly useful for time series analysis. And then finally, we have a list of 50 different variables, financial variables like income ratios, PE ratios, profitability ratios, asset and liability ratios that have been extremely useful in creating the dashboard that we have. The data sources, for this data has been Bloomberg, Refinitiv, Google Finance, and then finally Quandl. Data pre-processing. For the pre-processing, mostly we had problems dealing with outliers that we had to remove because it was just making the visualization very skewed. A lot of the data that we could not find on sources like Google Finance or Quandl, we had to scrape out of other sites because, as you can see, a lot of the data about a company's businesses is not available publicly online. And then finally, imputation. We deleted rows that had a lot of none values. So in terms of the visuals, we categorize our visuals into 4 categories. Number 1 is overview visuals. Number 2 is dashboards. Number 3 is time series, followed by trajectory, flow kind of data. So for an overview, the world's largest companies by country in 2019. So I really like this visual because it gives you a very high level view of the different kinds of companies, the biggest companies that are there in the world. On the left side of the chart, we can see that these companies have been filtered through their market value. So as you can see, Apple has a 500 billion plus market value, and Alibaba over there in China has a market cap of 200 billion plus. Next is zoom and filter. So with this chart, you can go closer inside, let's say Asia, and then you can see all these visuals for the different companies within Asia. Next are dashboard visuals. So with dashboard visuals, we have allowed the user to see the different industries that these companies are in. So as you can see, we have industries like information technology, consumer staples, financials, and using the dashboard, we're able to click in and choose which kind of variable we would like for our visual. So we can change it from income to, let's say, assets. So we can see how these companies are arranged if we filter it through assets. And then we've also created an infographic to show to give you a better idea of the industry segmentations. As you can see, in IT software and services, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple's there. In technology, hardware, Apple's there. In media, you have Netflix, Disney. Retailing, you have Amazon, and so forth. Next chart shows the discrepancy between the top 5 companies in the S&P 500 index versus the bottom 282 companies in that index. So this clearly shows how much power these 5 big tech giants have. The rest of the visuals will be covered by my teammates.
Hello everyone, I am Moman Chen. I will introduce the time series data analysis and the visualization. Let's see the time series visualization first with the animation. In this visualization shows the biggest 5 companies' market value variation from 1997 to 2019. And then we can see the Apple is growth a lot from at the 2007. But what happened at 2007? Let's the Apple have growth 5 times compared with the 2006. And then we can see although the Apple is growth rapidly, but the Amazon have been overcome the Apple and become the largest company today. But before to discuss with Amazon, I will discuss the Apple's success on 2007. I think most of the people have the answer because the first iPhone have been launched and become in production. And we can see just the one great success product will make Apple grow the 5 times market value in 1 year and become the largest company in 2008. And we can see the just because one great success product, and this can show that the effect of the success product and become much faster than before, and the creativity is the most difficult part and become the bottleneck nowadays because after iPhone we didn't see that much successful IT product and has been launched and take that great effect at all. And we can see the why the Amazon become the great company today is not because of the software product, is because Amazon have been take the most advantage on the cloud platform nowadays. It, it means that the AWS it take the great success to less to lead the Amazon become the biggest company today.
Hi everyone, I'm Liz. I will introduce the relationship graphs to visualize the location and business relationships of the acquisition data using Neo4j. The data are stored as nodes with labels, relationship types, and property keys to navigate within graphs. For example, in node labels, there are 224 company nodes, which means there are 224 pieces of acquisition information of alphabet in the dataset. However, instead of showing these nodes discretely, we present their base information by linking the companies and the corresponding countries together. So it is clear in these pictures that the companies Google acquired were mostly based on the United States, as it appears as a dominant section. But it is still not communicated much information. In order to improve the expressiveness of this visual, we further extended the relationships and adding one more label as business integration, which represents what kind of businesses Google had used or integrated with. So since showing all the nodes will appear messy, we can filter out specific businesses that intrigue the users. Take Google Maps and Google Classroom as illustration example. We can see that Google Maps has fairly more acquisition cases compared with Google Classroom. If we click a company node, its visual acquired date original business will show below the chart. Even though this graph cannot explicitly show the timeline of this acquisition, which we will present as another visual later, but the earliest transactions of Google Maps can date back to 2004. There is not much record on the recent 5 years, which indicates that Google Maps is a fairly sophisticated product. The relatively new companies they bought are more about satellite or location-based analytics, and it can be inferred that they are trying to increase the accuracy and intelligence of it. On the contrast, Google Classroom does not have much information, and the earliest acquisition appears on 2018, which is fairly new. However, the interesting thing is that the node Israel pops up, and as far as my knowledge is concerned, it seems to appear out of nowhere. And if we looked up with Cipher Match, we can find out that there are 6 companies from Israel, with businesses ranging from online video, cloud migration to internet security. I didn't know that Israel also possesses a strong influence on high tech. This is new information for me, and it might be useful for the later information integration, which is critical for decision making. Graphs emphasize relationships. When visualize relationships, it is easier for people to connect the dots and extract hidden information beneath the surface. However, because there is lots of missing value of acquisition money, we cannot encode the size of each dot as the purchase amount, which will effectively convey the acquisition size. In turn of this size, we can know how much Google valued this technology and possibly predict their next move that might lead the next technological trend.
In this visualization, we collected all the acquisition data of the 5 companies from 2007 to 2019. This design is based on a chart interactive Sankey chart, which is divided into 3 parts. The left part is the company's acquisition details. For example, when you click on Apple, its corresponding total acquisition funds will be displayed. To the right is the cross-domain field of each company. We can see that those companies are involved in online shopping, software, 5G, and other related acquisitions. The right-hand side is the respective field of each company and the different classification flows of the cross-domain. If you click on the link, you can find the money flow details between the source and distance. The main purpose of this model is to help readers to observe the expansion direction of large companies in recent years, so as to understand more deeply of the meaning behind the flow of funds. We use 3D Earth models to show the distribution of funds of each company and use the different color of dot to represent each company. We choose this design because we hope to observe the capital flow of the 5 major companies to the country, determine their acquisition trends, and understand which country the company will expand its business and in which country it will reduce its business. From this visualization, we can see that the flow of acquisition funds is densely distributed in the United States and extended to other countries. Although some regions are very sparse, it is not difficult to see that these 5 companies are doing their best to expand their business scope to every corner of the world.
So, why these visuals? We adopted Schneiderman's mantra: overview first, zoom and filter, then details on demand. So, an overview is extremely important as it gives a high-level view of the various companies in the landscape. We can then go over the intricate details by zooming into the visual. And the dashboard achieves the functionality as we can click on one particular aspect of our visual and make further insights. A segregation of actions is important as well because it gives a good user experience. And moreover, relationship graphs showed how company connecting with others. Data are stored as information nodes linking with each other, revealing the interrelationships. This visual enables people to connect the dots and find hidden patterns within data. And time series-based data analysis and visualization are helpful for observing the business flow and the variance of the capital value of those biggest companies. We would like to analyze the reason for the company's success based on the time series visualization. And finally, trajectory visual traces the motion of data, visualizing the capital flow. By tracing the sources and destination of these transactions, we may have a better pictures about high-tech investments as supplementary information. So these are our final results. These visuals are serving the purpose of a better info integration through which investors can make smarter decisions. Here comes our conclusion part. Merger and acquisition have allowed tech companies to gain a considerable amount of market share, a larger customer base, and has allowed them to vertically and horizontally expand along the supply chain. Our visuals give an investor better insights into the various business segments of the company. We can draw conclusions as why a tech company getting into retailing. Based on this visualization, an investor is able to get a better look at the risk exposure when they invest in the stock of the company. Data visualization helps the customer get a visual insights into the diversification of their assets. Our visuals can help investors make informed decisions while performing fundamental analysis of the company. The dashboards can help customers filter out companies based on their own selected criteria. For example, these criteria can be companies with the best PE ratios, or the best income ratios, or companies in the consumer goods sector with a market cap less than $100 million. Market capitalization of the top 5 tech companies has added up to this stunning number. Visualization can give better insights as where this money is going and help investors better integrate information and make smarter decisions. So that's all for our presentation. Thanks for watching.